Alright, hello and welcome to the tutorial for TonysLangApp. Currently offering these languages available to learn for anybody. Alright, so now first things we're going to want to do is we're going to want to register. We're going to want to create a username and password and an email to recover the lost password in case you forget it. And now the reason being for that is for what I'm about to show you right now. So when you do log in, you're going to want to select the native language because what I'm about to talk about won't work if you don't do that. So, first things first, I'd recommend most people start with custom. Now, whatever language you're learning, you can either add it through insert single word right here if you want to insert a single word, or insert multiple words by topic in case you have a job or a hobby, or just you want to learn some slang from a certain country or certain place. That's what I did. So for me, in my case, I put things like real estate, um, uh, Mexican slang, things like that for Spanish, right? So after that, after we're done with that, then we're gonna want to go and click on whatever levels of the language we want to learn. And I'm gonna go more into detail what these mean in a minute. But for now, you're just gonna want to click whatever you learn. And then from there, what you're gonna do every day is you're gonna click on study, and I'll go more into detail on what these set percentage and set amounts mean later in the video. But what you need to know is that sometimes it's not always going to load, so you need to refresh. Now, what you do, so this word right here, right? We're going to learn what this word means, and we get a sentence randomly generated, and we're going to select the text to speech voice. I personally like Spanish US Male WaveNet B right here. So we're going to listen to it speak.
El estudiante deberá presentar su trabajo final antes de la fecha límite.
And then ideally you're gonna try and read the sentence yourself. Then you're gonna listen to the text to speech say it, and you even have an option to slow it down however much you like right here in the playback speed. And then you would read this sentence out loud. And then depending on how good you are, you're gonna compare the sentence to the sentence translation right here. And if you feel like you're comfortable, you understood what was being said, you would put I understand or I do not understand. And and then you would do that until it stops giving you words. So if I had all these new learning and review study limits set to 0, then it would just show me no words to study for today. So you can put however many you want. I recommend people to go no higher than 20 for new, and no higher than about 200 for review, because I don't want I don't want anybody to overwhelm themselves unless they're crazy like that. Now, set percentage, what that means is if you want to see a type of card more often, that's what that means. So if I want to see, so for example, in this example, I have review set to 90. So I'm going to see review cards 90% of the time. The cards, this is based off Anki. So if you've used Anki before, if you're any of my Anki users returning to use this website, then this is what that means. But you're what you're going to see is when you do put I understand, I do not understand. If you put I understand, you're going to see it again later on, and they're going to show up as review cards. If you put I don't understand, you're going to keep seeing it as a learning card until you do understand it, and then eventually you're going to see it again and again later on using spaced repetition. And you do that until you finish with all the cards you study over time. And these are based off sessions and not daily limits, so you can set them to something like 5. And maybe you're waiting at the bus stop, or maybe you're drinking a coffee or something, you have some free time, you're waiting for an appointment, you can just set this up here. And I know a lot of people struggle with saying things out loud, especially in a public place. You can kind of just do what I do and just whisper to yourself. Makes you look makes you look like a crazy person, kind of. But hey, we got to do what we have to do if you want to reach your goals. So anyway, after we're done with this, you'll notice that I have Spanish B1 and B2 because I made a prototype already of this on Anki, and I already studied up to Spanish A1 and A2, and those provided pretty significant results. So once you finish with A1 and A2 in any language, then you're going to want to go to start using AI Companion. Now, what this is I'm sure you've seen these language learning applications or websites talking about, oh, this is the best way to learn a language in 2025. You talk to an AI coach, and that's that's kind of gimmicky in my opinion. And I just added it because I thought it was kind of a neat idea, because this will give you some insight as to how good your speaking level is. So what I like to do, if you're doing this on a mobile phone, just use your keyboard and type in. So let's pretend I'm learning English for this example. So I would go here. I would either type it if I don't care about speaking or if I can't speak for whatever reason, or I'd usually recommend people to use the voice options like how I'm talking right now. Let me just delete that real quick. So I made this to be as realistic of a speaking partner as I could. So it's gonna really keep you on your toes. So if I ask it whatever, I'm gonna be, hey man, you got any plans for tonight? Right, and then question mark, and then we put this. Now for this example, I'm gonna be talking to let's talk to an Australian guy.
Hey, not much on my agenda, just planning to chill at home. How about you? Any exciting plans for your evening?
And then ideally, you would respond as if you're talking to an actual person. So if I am learning English, this would open me up to whatever scenario I bring about myself. Or, you can use this, you can lead the conversation however way you want. Maybe there's a certain time where you need the language, but you just can't, for whatever reason, you can't perform in that specific area. Like, for example, there was one time when I had to call a cleaning company, and the lady, she was talking to me, and I couldn't, you know I choked basically. So that's one example of how you can use this, but there's a lot of different applications, and it'll remember what you say until you refresh the page. But so, as a recap, you would go, when you first log in, you go to custom, add whatever custom words pertain to your current life and your hobbies and your job, whatever you want basically. And then you go select whichever of these languages you want to learn to whatever level, and then you would go study them. And this is going to be your daily routine. You log in, you click study, you study these cards here until it gives you none, and then you leave until you reach a certain point. Until you learn about like 1,000, where it says new cards here, until this number goes down by about 1,000, because that's about how many are in A1 and A2. There's 1,200 in A1 and A2 combined, if you're wondering that. But once you're done with that, you go to AI Companion. You do this about 5 minutes a day. In total, take you about 10 minutes a day, every day, maybe even less than that. But you will, if you're consistent, you will see results. And I've already tested this on people using my who use the Anki version of this to of English speakers learning Spanish and Portuguese. So if you're watching this and you're coming from Anki, this is a workaround to get around the audio issues, and also a bunch of other features. Like, I couldn't put custom words in Anki because it's a flashcard app. Like, there was really no way for me to do it from my end. So you had to do it yourself, but now you don't have to do it yourself anymore. You can just type in whatever. I don't want to do it right here on this account, but let's say, I don't know, let's say I'm going to Russia and I'm becoming an accountant, and then I just put add custom words here. It might take a little while to load, but you get the idea. So all these words will be populated, and then I'm going to see them when I do click study, and then I might have to refresh the page a couple times, but I'm going to see them when I click study. So this way I get these. Oh, look, see right there. I'm sure these are accountant words, but if I don't want them anymore, I can just delete the selected. And the same thing with AI Companion. User settings, if you want to update your password or your email, just type in a new email or your new username if you want to change that. Whoops. Or delete account if you feel like you're done with that thing. And then I really recommend people read the guide. It answers a lot of questions and goes way more in depth than what I'm going to go in this video here. So let me explain, let me take some time to explain the CFR levels. So I understand there's a lot of debate on how valid these things are, but the reason I picked them is because I feel like they're the most recognized, most widely used, and it's a lot easier for me to group words into these little levels here. So there was a lot of debate, but what I did was I divided A1 and A2. They each have 600 words, so that makes a total of 1,200. B1 has 1,300, so that's 25,000 total. B2 has 25,000, so 5,000 total. I mean, 2,500, my bad. 5,000 total. C1 has 5,000, so that's 10,000 total. And C2 has 10,000, making a total of 20,000 words per language. And the words get sent to a random sentence generator, which generates the sentence randomly so you can be as versatile in the language as you could be. And I just go into detail here about how the words are chosen. I got them from a government database on each of these words. Now, right here, you can see all the planned languages that I have for the future. And it's going to take me some time to implement all of these. But as of this video, I already put two additional ones besides the main ones that I incorporated here. And the the reason I made this website, this is the end of the tutorial. From this point on in the video, I'm going to be ranting about all these other language learning apps and services. So I started out where I live. If you're watching this, where I live in a very Spanish speaking heavy area where if you do not speak the language, you're going to be missing out. It's going to be like a really downgraded experience. So so originally when I started, I was in about, I'd say, 8th grade, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to make a commitment. I promised myself by the time I graduate high school, I'm going to learn Spanish. So what I did was I worked every day. I downloaded Duolingo. I used it every day to the point where I put so much work in that I was already almost done using the entire lesson or course. I almost finished doing all the lessons. I don't know how it is now, but at the time I was like 2 away from finishing. And then just as an experiment, just as a test, I was listening to my grandma speak Spanish to her friend. And then I I was listening to her, and then I was like, man, I can only understand like one or two words, and that's like me really trying to to figure out what she's saying. And then I got this sinking feeling of, wow, I just wasted all my time doing all this, and that wasn't a good feeling. So I was like, okay, well, I just wasted my time. So what else is there? But I will give Duolingo one thing that I try to implement in here is that they make it really easy to explore other languages, which is where this is where I kind of got the idea of putting all these other, whoops, I dropped my phone, putting all these other languages right next to each other so you can see them all and select them all if you can. You can select all of them if you're really that crazy, you know. But so I went to I went on and I was looking around for other alternatives. And then eventually I came across Pimsleur. It was really highly recommended. And I used a lot of what Pimsleur does in here. But the thing is, Pimsleur was very expensive and it's very how would I say this? So the way you use it is it gives you a recording. It gives you, let me go here so I can talk about it better. It gives you a sentence, it makes you listen to it, and then encourages you to repeat whatever's said out loud. And I found that to work very well, which is why I have people, whenever they do this, they listen to this
La empresa
sentence.
siempre tiene productos a disposición de sus clientes.
They listen to the sentence and then they try and read it out loud because that gets your brain more used to making these sounds. Because I'm going to be real, at first, at whatever language you pick, your pronunciation is going to suck. It's going to be terrible. You're going to be embarrassed. But over time, quicker than you think, quicker than you imagine, eventually your pronunciation is going to get there. Because a lot of people, what they do is they learn, they spend all this time, book learning or using methods that frankly, in my opinion, don't work or are not as useful. And they might be able to like read the language, they might be able to understand people, but they don't know how to talk. And if you don't know how to talk in the language, then what's the point? So at least that's how I feel. I understand that there's some people in different situations, but that's just my opinion. So this would get you as good at speaking and writing and reading as good as possible. Oh, I forgot to mention the writing. So what I did is this is more for like if you come from a language that has a different script than yours, then you would write it here. So let's say I'm learning Chinese, right? I go to whatever I put the keyboard on here. I like using the Google, it's like a G board. I think that's what the app is called, but it's a keyboard that I'm using here that you can see on screen, and then I just type it in. But the thing is, I really like it is because there's a handwriting option. I don't have it enabled right now, but it's like a blank screen, and then you can like swipe like this and make the I can write whatever I want, and this is really helpful for people who are learning like Chinese or Korean or Japanese, for example, that have different scripts. So it gets you more used to the script and you can read it easier because you know how to write it physically. And that's just an option. And also they use different keyboards, like Chinese especially, they use a different, like several different keyboards, and you can pick whatever one you use. So let's say you're trying to type something. That's an option right there. You don't have to do it. Most people don't need it, but I put it there in case you do. So that's another reason. Oh yeah, you can also check your pronunciation. What the heck, Filipino? You can also check your pronunciation here if you like. I made this thing so people could be as creative with it as possible. So anyway, back to my story. So I started using Pimsleur, and then the way it works is that you have to talk out loud, and I found that's what worked best for me because it builds your confidence. It makes you more used to sounding natural instead of you having to think about what you're saying. Because imagine if you had to think about what you're saying and then say it out loud. Man, this video would be like 3 hours long if I did that. This whole video. So right now I'm kind of just rambling, saying whatever's on my mind right here at the moment, and then Pimsleur was good, but I felt like it was kind of limiting. I felt like it was right there, but there's this little thing that's holding it back. And each of these lessons were about 30 minutes long. There's 30 of them for 5 units, at least there was for me. And the whole thing is about like a couple $100, and it was pretty expensive for what it was. And when I originally made the Anki deck for Spanish, I used A1 to A2, and I was like, oh man, Pimsleur was good, but this really honed in my vocabulary because you do need to know how to speak, but if you don't have the words that you need to say, and again, that's where I go back to and talk about custom words, right? The custom right here. If you don't know what words you have to use in your daily life, then you're just not going to get anywhere because you're not going to know what you have to say and when, and it's very daunting. And it used to be a really time consuming endeavor, but now it's not no more. So that's how you can get specific words to your life. And each of these levels here, so Arabic A1 MSA for example, they I have the most used words first and the least used words last. So as you learn, you're going to learn what's most useful to you in that immediate moment. And that's something that I took from Pimsleur, that they made you speak and they made you listen. So that really helped. And then eventually I made the Anki deck. And the Anki deck's pretty similar to this, but it doesn't have the custom or the AI features. And they just, frankly, they just took forever to make. Like this, like I made like what, like 20 different options for you to choose from now. I made these in like a couple days. So I barely added these. And I'm really excited for everybody to get out there and everybody to try it. So if you made it this far into the video listening to me rant, thank you very much. And this thing is always going to be free as long as I'm around. This thing's always going to be free. That's one thing I also don't like about these language learning companies, is that they make it they charge you so much for something that frankly doesn't work, or at least doesn't work as well as it should. And this, I trimmed off all the fat. I gave you all the useful things, useful information, the stuff that will get you as good as fast as possible. This thing's not perfect, but it's as close to perfect as I can possibly get it right now with my with my as far as I can tell, and as far as the technology available at this time. So, yes, I hope you enjoy it. I hope everybody has fun using it. This should be fun. It shouldn't be frustrating. It shouldn't be, oh, I have to do it. You should have fun with it. And I really recommend it to everybody. And oh, one more thing. So if you do want to support somehow, even though this thing's always free, you can follow me on these social media. I'll plug it somewhere. I'll put it somewhere, maybe in the description or something. But I'm gonna have a Twitch channel, and I understand, I'm just paying a lot of lip service right here, talking about how good it is, but I'm actually gonna prove it by streaming myself every day using this to learn various languages. So if you're interested in that, look me up on Twitch. I'll have that link. I'll put that link somewhere. But just know that this thing does work, and I do intend on proving it. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for making it this far into the video, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.